Hi there, Akanksha. Thanks so much for reaching out. So a couple of you've got a couple of different questions thrown around inside of your message. So one of the things I would say is, look, I think the GMAT, which is the organization that issues the GMAT, they have often found that most people do not improve their score significantly after the third attempt. So I understand. I think you're asking down here, should I retake the GMAT? I would only do so if you are consistently scoring, I would say 30 points or higher in a practice test. It's really not worth to do it a retake just to get, say, a 730, right? But if you know in your heart of hearts that that fourth retake is going to yield you, say, a 750 plus, then go for it. Otherwise, I think your energies are probably better spent elsewhere, especially if you are planning to apply right now. So first of all, you went to Purdue, great college. Lots of people who go to Purdue obviously don't just end up at Purdue for their MBAs, but they do end up at top 10 schools. In fact, I had a section mate at HBS who went to Purdue and worked in manufacturing engineering between Purdue and HBS. So, that's great. Computer science, 3.2 GPA. A lot of other admissions consultants might tell you that a 3.2 GPA is way too low, but computer engineering is a hard major, so I wouldn't necessarily stress about it. And then when it comes down to the rest of the story, things start to get a little bit murkier. So you did internships at Technicolor, which I was like, wow, that's so cool. Was it over in Burbank? If so, you were down the proverbial street from me. I live in LA, and graduated from Purdue. So I'm like, yeah, December. Okay, so whoops, I highlighted this kind of in a yellow and reddish color for an alert, just because, that does put you right now at about the 3-year mark. In fact, you're a little bit less, right? Because when most people say, oh, I graduated in 2015, they tend to mean that they graduated in June of 2015. So you are a little bit on the younger side for some of these top programs. So just a heads up that I think where I'm going to shake out on this one is telling you to maybe wait a year or two. And then here's where things get a little bit confusing. You say you work at the Georgia Department of Revenue as a consultant. So I'm guessing the Georgia Department of Revenue is taxes. Basically, it sounds to me like it's the equivalence of the IRS. And then you say that you're a consultant, but you don't say which type of a consultant you are. I'm guessing it's something technical, like some sort of an IT consultant. I would love to see you maybe try to transition to something. First of all, figure out what your career vision is. What is that big change you want to drive in the world, and why are you getting an MBA anyway? And I would ask you to maybe consider taking a move or getting a job that moves you a little bit closer towards what that career vision is, away from public service. Whew. What's funny is that I just had to pause the recording because I have a cold and I had just had a coughing fit. And I just see now that you are actually not planning to apply until next year. So that is a huge relief. Here, I'm going to put that in yellow because that is good. So at least it seems like you are aware of the fact that you are on the younger side, which, whew, big relief for me. I would tell you pretty much as soon as possible, ask yourself, what is that career vision I want to move towards? Am I even interested in an MBA to begin with? And then if the answer is not, I want to work in government or for a government agency, then I would start taking steps now to finding a job that moves you closer to whatever it is you want to do. Maybe it means IT or whatever it is, whatever functional role you have now. Maybe it means whatever that is in some other industry. Maybe it means you try to get an entry-level job in something more businessy that moves you away from whatever it is that you're doing now, assuming that you're doing IT consulting, which I'm just guessing because of the computer engineering background. Because that is going to start to make the story a little bit stronger. The current role is really not that sexy, to put it bluntly. I mean, it's, goodness knows, like there are people in the applicant pool who are applying who are unemployed, right? So I'm not trying to diss your job. I'm just saying, like, wow, there are people who work for companies like Pinterest, right? And these really cool and exciting things. And so working in taxation, it's not so much that I'm trying to diss your employer, but it's also, an MBA admissions committee is going to say, well, why does she even need an MBA? Like, what's the point? What's the vision? So I would start moving towards that vision now, start applying to jobs right now. So that way, maybe you can, even as early as January, start in that new job, maybe even sooner. That would be my big urging for you. So your potential for a top 10 school, look, people with computer science backgrounds from Purdue absolutely get into these schools. I think the key things here for you are going to be proving yourself as a leader. You don't really tell me anything about your leadership experience here. So obviously the higher up the school, the Harvards, for example, and the Booths and the Whartons, the higher up the school, the greater the burden of proof is on you that you are in fact an exceptional leader. Not really sure how much of a chance you're getting at your current job to really shine in that way. Now, if for whatever reason professional leadership is not possible, this is why extracurricular leadership, this is why people do so much stuff with extracurriculars and they get so involved with nonprofits. People mistakenly think that it's about just simply doing any sort of nonprofit work. That's not true. The biggest benefit of doing nonprofit work is that it gives you an opportunity to prove those leadership skills, to flex those leadership muscles for people who do not have the opportunity to do so in their normal jobs. So I would also encourage you to get very involved in some sort of a nonprofit or something outside of work to show those leadership muscles. I'm not sure right now, and admittedly I have very limited information, but if you're an IT consultant at the tax, sort of the state tax level, I would go, I think like a Yale might go for that. Of these schools that you mentioned, I think Yale might go for it because Yale does have sort of a public interest at the core of their DNA. They are sort of like the public interest-ish MBA program. So if you were to apply with, hey, I want to get the MBA to bring smart IT solutions to local government, which is pretty much what you would have to say if you're applying directly from this current job, then I think Yale would be the most open to that story. I would also look at the Washington D.C. programs, right? Look at a Georgetown. Look at those D.C. programs. Those folks also tend to get a lot of people at the intersection of policy and business. Does HBX Core benefit your MBA application? Look, I think it's better than nothing, but I would not at all expect it to be some sort of a magic pill. I think people should take HBX Core because they want to learn the material. And once I was at an event recently where someone was like, I'm thinking of taking HBX Core, but I don't know, man. I would only be doing it to help me get into business school. And I couldn't help but laugh a little. And I said, look, what do you think business school is? Like, I was like, well, like, oh man, I guess I'll take HBX Core, but I'd only be doing it to enhance my, do you see the irony there? It's like, well, but HBX Core is sort of an introduction to what the MBA curriculum is. So I think people should take it to strengthen who they will be once they get to campus. In terms of moving the needle significantly, in terms of admissions, I don't think it moves the needle. That time that you spend on HBX Core would be better spent trying to get a mid to upper 700s GMAT, right? If you could only choose one, if you think that more study would get you there, that's where I would focus that energy. And then in terms of taking the GMAT and reapplying and applying to B schools after a few more years, I think I've answered that. Really do try to find positions both at work and in your community where you can prove that you're the sort of leader that these top schools are looking for. Thank you.